Hello and welcome to a special Saints and Sinners edition of Out with Dan. Today I'm joined by McCavity and Lambda Literary Award-winning author John Copenhaver. Hello, John. How are you?
Hey, Dan. How you doing?
I'm good. I'm good. Happy Pride Month.
Same to you. Happy Pride. It's a really great month. The weather is good here in Richmond, Virginia, so at least there's that, right? So
that's same thing here in Los Angeles. And I will say that some of my friends and I have been joking that every weekend in June is Pride in Los Angeles this year. Some different neighborhood has a Pride. I'm like, I didn't even know there were this many Pride events in Los Angeles. But this year we're working down the Pride. So So let's also talk a little bit about Saints and Sinners. You've been before, and give me your experience with Saints and Sinners Literary Festival in New Orleans.
Well, there's a lot to love. And I think, first of all, it's in New Orleans, which is just a lovely setting and such a queer and funky space, layers of history. I think it's like the perfect kind of literary conference setting. And I think Saints and Sinners is particularly special because it's it's LGBTQ plus focus. And I think that to bring a lot of writers together in this kind of cool city and chat about books and writing and the publishing industry, it's really kind of a meaningful and powerful experience. I love it, and I'm excited to return.
Same here. So have you met somebody that you were a fanboy of their work at Saints and Sinners?
Yeah, lots actually. The one that pops to my mind first and foremost, just because I've been such a fanboy, is Margot Dwight. Her books are actually set in New Orleans, and it's about a queer nun who solves crime, sort of punk rock, tatted up nun who solves crime. And I just had never encountered anything like it before. And I was like, how does this crazy mixture of things like work? And man, she makes it work. It really is great. So we've become friends since. So that's a nice thing. You can be a fanboy and it's such an intimate conference that then you'll just become friends. And then you'll just be like standing on each other. So
well, I totally agree. And one thing, because John and I have been to different conferences together, one thing that we both have experienced is the camaraderie, especially in the crime writing community. But I think we have the exact same thing at Saints and Sinners, that you get superstar authors and you get authors who are starting out and you get fans, and you put them all in the Monteleone Hotel in New Orleans. And it is one of those things, it's the perfect storm of wondrousness. I'll get that word eventually. So, it's a fun type of thing because you really do get to meet people up close and they explain their work and where it comes from.
Yeah, I think that's really true. And I think it goes back to sort of it being an intimate conference. I think that you have, you kind of operating in a fairly small like space. The hotel's gorgeous. And I think that just you start creating relationships, you mingle. And I think sometimes these bigger conferences, you feel isolated. So you go to be with people, but you still end up feeling isolated. And I never felt that way at Saints and Sinners. It felt like everyone was, although we may be in different places in our career, everyone was sort of open and welcoming. And I think there's something about just the queer community in general where we're not sort of hopefully hung up on status. And like, we're willing to sort of, extend a hand and sort of say, hey, this is what I've learned along the way. How can I help you? And I think that element was certainly at play. And you're also learning a lot about the publishing industry because of those of us who have, published several books, and whether it's indie presses or you're got a big 5 publisher, there's just a lot of different experiences out there. And so I think that happens as well in a way that these bigger conferences, you kind of have to kind of elbow your way into some of those cocktail parties. You don't have to do that.
I totally agree. I totally agree. And one nice thing for me was I sat in on 2 different writers' workshops at Saints&Sinners this past March, and one of them was taught by Margot, and just getting an author's idea of how they come up with their story and what they do, and it's part of the package deal. So it's not like you have to add on and add on. Once you paid your price, you have access to all of it, and it's a fun thing.
Yeah, it's really fun. I think that's a part of it that works. There's not. I mean, maybe people are a little, as you're bringing people together, you're anxious, but the truth is, as soon as you get there, you're like, okay, everyone's cool. Everyone's here to sort of have fun and get to know each other. And I think that's just a real benefit of generally smaller conferences, but particularly this one.
I agree, and it is held concurrently with the Tennessee Williams Literary Festival in New Orleans, and this is sort of the gay division of it, if you would, or the LGBTQ.
As if the Tennessee Williams Festival, needed a gay division. I love
that. I totally agree. I mean, it doesn't get much more.
This is like the really gay division.
Intensive workshop, so I love it. So so next year Saints&Sinners will be held from March 28th through the 30th in 2025, and it will take place in New Orleans and it will be held at the Montleone Hotel, and I look forward to seeing you there.
I do too. Thanks, Dan, for having me on.
Thank you. Hang on for me just a second.